morning. I'm so delighted to see so many people here. As you know, the Coffee and Conversation is monthly. We do, just in case you're wondering, we do take the summer off. Pretty much the whole Art Center is stuffed with kids during the summer. So we are scheduled again to start up in September. So watch for the announcements, and we have artists lined up for almost all of next year. Wow. So it'll be a wonderful, exciting year, starting in September, the second Thursday. As far as the Sterling Society is concerned, we have one more event, and that is this Saturday. The Mother's Day Tea is scheduled. We have a few more seats if you're interested. It's $30 a person. It's a wonderful afternoon on Saturday from 1 to 3. There are door prizes. Everybody takes home roses. There are opportunity baskets, and there is modeling by MJ's Fashion downtown in Dunedin. It's very casual modeling, so you get to talk to the people about what they're wearing and how it's accessorized and the prices and everything. So if any of you don't have plans already for Saturday, please join us. You can still do it today, and you can do it at either of the desks here. I want to also make an announcement for Catherine. Our next exhibit is from the National Quilt Exhibit, and we have an artist from Canada, Betty Busby, and she has some very exciting quilts that she's done, and she's actually going to even do a workshop. The opening is actually May 31st from 7 to 9, but if you come at 6, Betty will be doing a lecture. That's May 31st. Because of this show, we don't always charge, but if you are a member of the Art Center, you do get in free. But those who are not members who would like to come to this opening, it is $8. And during the time the show is up, from May 31st to August 11th, if you're not a member of the Art Center, you can come and see the show, but it is an $8 fee. So what I need you to know, I have brochures on that on the table, so don't hesitate to pick one of those up before you leave. So today, we're lucky enough to have a friend of mine, Lorraine Potocki, who is a pastel artist. Lorraine wanted to be an artist since she was old enough to hold a crayon in her hand. With a degree in fine art and education from the College of New Jersey, she enjoyed a successful career in marketing until 2008, when she finally began living her dream to be an artist and started her business, Florida Pastels. Acrylic painting was her medium for years, but when she moved to Florida, she met and studied with master pastelist Brooke Allison and fell in love with the beauty of pastels. She has won awards for her art and participated in shows throughout the greater Tampa Bay area. Lorraine's been active in the community as a workshop presenter and teacher. She's on the faculty of the Dunedin Fine Arts Center and of the Life Enrichment Center in Tampa. Her love of living in Florida is obvious in her work. With each new painting, she says she uncovers another nuance of the medium, a new way to treat a subject, a way to capture a moment in time in her eyes. I'd like to present Lorraine Potocki.
I was saying, what nice happy faces we have here. Thank you for all coming. You have many things that you can do with your day and your time, and to spend an hour with me is, I consider a privilege. So when I present, it's very interactive. So I walk around a lot, and we're going to all be involved in this because that's kind of a fun way to do it. And I just learned that we have a brand new person to Florida, Paulette.
Not from Florida. I just moved a county over.
Oh, okay. So you moved from where?
From Pasco County.
Okay, from Pasco County to Pinellas. So let's welcome to Pinellas County, Paulette. Anybody else new in the area, brand new? Yes. You were from?
I'm originally from Maryland, but I moved from Paraguay.
You were moved from?
Paraguay.
Paraguay. Wow. How long have you been here?
Since January.
Since January. Wow. Fantastic. And your name is?
Joan Lorraine.
Joan Lorraine. Nice to meet you. Who's a native Floridian? One. Wow. Wow. Isn't that something? That is amazing. Yeah. I'm a Floridian via New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Tennessee, Florida. So, but I love Florida. I absolutely love Florida. Yeah, I mean, it's just amazing. I can't imagine living any other place. Paraguay sounds wonderful, but I can't imagine living any other place. So you can tell that I have a corporate background because I use these little cards. I don't read from them, but just so in case I missed something, I'm just kind of like, it's time for me to say this. Or if I have a quote, which I always love quotes. So you heard in my intro by Mary Louise very nicely that things changed dramatically in my lifetime as of February 2008. I have been in corporate America in a variety of jobs throughout the country since I can remember, for 29 years in different corporations, all in healthcare. And I was relocated, and I was climbing the corporate ladder, and I was doing everything. And I just thought, this is what I want to do. I want to be this corporate executive. So I flew everywhere, I flew internationally, I was doing all sorts of things, all great, all wonderful. As a matter of fact, I had been working since I was 15 in work study. I guess they do work study in Florida, do they? Yeah, so I was doing work study since 15. And then on that fateful day in February of 2008, my position was eliminated. So for the first time in my life since I was 15, I didn't have a job. For the first, jobs found me. I was always employed. And I just kept making more money and getting more benefits and flying everywhere and being in all these meetings and all that kind of stuff. And for the first time since I was 15, I was without a job, and I thought, wow, this is life-changing. This is what this feels like. Oh my goodness gracious. So I had lots of options, and the option that I chose was, you know, been there, done that. I am going to do what I always wanted to do. I am living where I want to live. I always wanted to live in Florida. Now I'm going to do what I want to do. I'm going to be an artist. So when people see me at a cocktail party or some kind of a social gathering, and they say, and what do you do for a living? Instead of saying, I'm a group director of marketing for blah, 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 blah company, I instead say, I'm an artist. Oh my goodness gracious, I never had as much of a high as saying I'm an artist. And it's like, I really am. That's what I do. I'm an artist. So it's just been an absolute thrill to do this. And after 5 years, I've been doing this successfully. You judge success by many different criteria. My success is I've never been happier. I've never met nicer people. The artist community, many of whom are in this audience, just the best people, the absolute best people, and it's just a great thing. It's a great place to be, and it's a great place to be for me personally. So I am having a ball. I'm having a ball. So I said this is interactive. At any time, if you have a question, a comment, whatever, you want to add to whatever I'm saying, you want to do whatever, stop me, because otherwise I'll feel like I'm talking to myself here, and of course that's not fun. So, let's see, what have I forgotten to say? How about that? I did pretty good. One other advantage of being out of the corporate world and being an artist, when I run into people that I knew back when I was that corporate person, they look at me and they say, oh my goodness, you look 10 years younger. What did you do? Thinking I had some kind of like, surgical intervention here. And it's like, I'm not in corporate anymore. I'm doing what I want to do. And other people that meet me, that knew me in my corporate days, they say, oh, you're just way too happy, girl. You're just way too happy. Way too happy. Just get that smile right off your face. So, again, you heard that I studied with Brooke Allison, who many of you know, and I fell in love with pastel. I started in acrylic in college, but as soon as I learned pastel, it's like, oh my goodness, where have you been all my life? Absolutely love it. So we're going to do a pastel painting together. You'll understand how it's together in a little while. And pay attention, because during my talk and my demo, just pay attention to little things I may tell you. There may be some valuable prizes when there's a pop quiz every once in a while. So just pay attention. I'm warning you. Don't check out on me, because you're going to miss out on some valuable prizes. All right. So I love to, and Janice knows this and other people know this, I love quotes, and I love to start every time I get in a group with a quote. So here's the quote. There are painters who transform the sun to a yellow spot, but there are others who, with the help of their art and their intelligence, transform a yellow spot into the sun. And that was Pablo Picasso. So, today, let's try to transform a yellow spot into the sun. Sound like fun? Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Okay. Pastel. Who's familiar with pastels? A few. Okay. All right. Pastels, for those of you who are not familiar, a lot of people call them chalk. They're not real. It's not really chalk. Pastels are made from the same pigment as oil, acrylic, and watercolor. There's just a binding agent that's put in them to make them solid. So they're really solid pigment. They're solid paint. If you reduce it down, if you take pastel and you either add water or alcohol to it, it will look just like paint, because it is paint. It's just paint in solid form. So this is pastel paper. Comes in a variety of surfaces. They're all sanded. You can hear it. So you need to really work with a very, very good surface. This is Wallace sanded paper. This brownish gray color is called Belgian mist. So there are many different kinds of paper. The paper that they sell in Michael's that they call pastel paper is not really good pastel paper. So it's very, very important to get sanded paper. So I decided, since I have not done a sunset on water on this Belgian gray paper, it would be kind of a neat thing to do. The other thing Mary Louise and I were talking about right before everybody assembled is I'm really loosening my style these days. I'm going for looser and having more fun and breaking everything down into its abstract form and trying to just loosen up, and I'm enjoying it. I'm really enjoying it. So, I work not always from photo reference, but mostly from photo reference. So here is a typical Florida sunset on the beach that I'm sure many people have seen. One of my photos that I've taken. And when I first started doing pastel, I would make sure that I was getting as many details as I could of the clouds and the sun and the sky. And this is on photo paper, photographic paper, and try to make it look exactly like the photo. And I realized that I don't really want to make it look exactly like the photo, because then it should stay a photo. I want it to be a painting. So from there, I said, well, let me just print it on this kind of bond paper that comes right out of my computer. And that kind of dulls it a little bit and makes it, then I can have to invent my own colors a little bit. I thought, well, let's take it one step farther. For those of you that are familiar with Photoshop on your computer, you can take Photoshop and there are a variety of things you can do with it, including doing something called cutout. This is that photograph in a computer-generated program called Cutout that reduces any subject matter to shapes and color. And you can see the color doesn't look anything like the original, but it's giving you values, which are dark darks and light lights and everything in between. So when I do paintings now, I start this way. The two paintings, as a matter of fact, that I brought with me back here that you can see later, the one of the cat and the one of this wooden garage here, were started this way. They were started just with shapes and values, and then I just let them go wherever they wanted to go. So let's start this together. We're going to forget about that realistic picture. Put that on the side. Take some masking tape this reference right next to this piece of pastel paper, and let's see what's going to happen to it. The only thing that I'm going to do that is as accurate as possible is horizon lines have to be straight. They just do. So I had to bring a T-square. That's the last time I'll use this. It's just a horizon line. So if you were to do the horizon line, here's audience participation. If you're to do the horizon line on any subject matter, are you going to do it the exact halfway down the page?
No.
Or the paper? Why not? Anybody?
Boring.
It's boring. Yeah, it's really boring. So you decide where you want your horizon line. So I'm going to have my, my horizon of the time with soft pastel. The difference between hard and soft. Soft pastel has less of a binding agent. It has the consistency almost of butter or lipstick. It's really, really soft. Hard pastel is hard, just like it sounds. All right, so I'm going to look at, and the reason I use this Belgian mist is I saw that my Photoshop kind of gave me this color for the sky. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to leave that for the sky and start this way. So I'm looking at the darkest values are a little bit up in this left-hand corner, up in the right, and some in the water. So if you were to do a dark, little bit of cloudy area in the sky, what color would you make that? Right here it looks kind of black or charcoal
Payne's gray. Payne's gray.
Could be gray.
Payne gray.
Could be, yeah, could be blue-gray. Could be a burnt umber. Could be purple. Could be purple. Well, you know what? Let's try purple. There's no wrong, right or wrong answer. Let's try purple. All right, I'm going to use this soft pastel purple, and I am going to,
Whoa. That's bold.
that's that. All right. Now, whatever is in the sky obviously has to be reflected in the water. Would you not say that that's true? All right, so let's take a look at, first of all, I'm going to give myself just a little bit of an outline of this reflection, this light reflection in here. So I'm going to just kind of do this. All right, so this is this. Now let's just use this nice soft pastel. You can hear when it's on the sanded paper, the sandiness, the tooth of the paper grabbing into the pastel. You can also see the pastel dust collecting here. I have a little bit of oil here. Okay, that's that. In order to remember that I used this, I'm going to stand it up like a little soldier in the box. So in case I want to find this again, I'm not going to say, I wonder which of these purple pastels in here I used. So I'm going to stand this up like a little soldier in here. All right, let's take a look at what Photoshop color this gave me. What color do you think that is?
Orange.
It's kind of orange, isn't it? Kind of orangey. Let's see. That's a little too orange. Got this orange over here. I'm going to make it this orange. Again, I'm going to give myself a little bit of an outline, but this, you can see, I save all pastels until I can't hold on to them anymore. And then I put them in a little box because sometimes you just need a little tiny bit of a pastel, maybe for the corner of an eye or a little highlight in here. So I am going to look at this orange shape here. It's kind of that shape, kind of sort of. All right, before I fill that in with this, we've got some kind of bright yellow in here too, don't we? That's Mr. Sun, obviously. So let's kind of not forget that he's there. And we've got a few little yellow spots in here, so let's just kind of do that. And here is my placeholder for the sun. Now let's make sure that's not dead center. So let's take a look back where you're sitting here. Yeah, we might want to move the sun over a little bit more to the right. It's looking a little bit too centered. So I'm going to move the sun over here a little bit more. Okay. And obviously there's some reflections that are coming in. I'm just going to give myself a placeholder for the reflection of the sun here, a little bit here, and there, and that's that. Now let's surround this with this lovely orange. Soft pastel again is it just goes on just like butter. It really does.
What brand do they?
I have a variety of brands. The ones that I use the most are actually made in Tampa by a gentleman by the name of Carl Kelly, and they're called Mount Vision. His company is Mount Vision, and he actually makes these in his garage and sells them. He sells them online, he sells them everywhere, but he'll sell them to you right from his garage.
Oh, nice.
So, and he sells them less expensively than if you pay for them online, so they're like $2.50 a stick.
You're
So,
gonna
and
give
I
us
have information up here about art supplies and where you can get them and costs and all of that if you're interested. All right, so here we have this, and there's a really, really bright little piece of orange in here that I just want to capture and not forget. So I'm going to put that little orange over there, and I'm going to kind of surround a little bit of these guys with some orange here. All right, so look at that realistic sunset, tongue in cheek. All right, so now that we have shapes and values, let's think about where we're going to go from here. I can refer to this and say, well, you know what, I'm going to come back and I'm going to make this look super realistic, and I'm going to take this, or I can go back to my kind of dull version here. I would rather take this one and just kind of refer to it if I feel like it, and invent my own colors, because sunsets have incredible color. There's no right or wrong. There's really no right or wrong. So now that we have this guy out of the way, let's kind of take a look at this. All right. Pastels are a layering color on top of color, and continually adjusting, making sure you have dark darks and light lights. If you ever look at a painting and you say, I don't know why, it just doesn't pop off the page, it's just not talking to me, it's probably because your values are too close together. Too close together. Value, who knows what values are? What are values?
lights and darks.
Lights and darks. Yeah. So the value that I have similar values in my jeans and in my top. There's not a real dramatic difference. The value of your hat is a lot darker, obviously, than the value of your shirt. So continually, you want to make sure that you define lights and dark darks to keep the interest. So we've got lots of dark darks here. So now let's kind of look at, let's talk about skies that you've seen, sunset skies you've seen, and cloud formations. Let's look at some of these dark values and talk to me about sky colors. Give me a sky color, a cloud sky color with a sunset.
Blue.
Like a blue, okay, all right.
Pink.
Pinks, okay.
White.
White, turquoise, okay. All of them are absolutely fine. I would challenge you to say that, or to think about, sometimes in a real cloudy, possibly after a storm condition or before a storm, there are some greens also in clouds. I have moved away from, as far as possible, putting the actual color down first. A blue sky doesn't end up being a blue sky until I absolutely have to make it a blue sky. Green grass is not green grass until it absolutely has to be green. There are so many other colors and layers before you get to that. So I'm going to wait for the blue, and I'm going to look at a green. Well, this is a pretty deep green here. I'm going to put in some deep greens in here. And then I'm going to add a little bit of green in here, and in here, and in here. All right, let's remember that that green is here by standing it up. Now let's take a look at some of the other colors you talked about. All right, I heard some turquoise, and I think that that is totally appropriate in some areas here. We're going to take this kind of a turquoisey blue, and I'm going to use this turquoisey blue for this blue area of sky, kind of in here, just to add some interest. I'm going to add some of that interest back down in here. Now we're going to take a look and say, wow, look at that. Whenever you're doing any artwork, no matter what medium it is, you should always stand back, take a look at it, come back, Take a look at it again. All right, let's look at this orange sunset. So we can really orange up here a little bit. Orange up, is that a term? I make up, for those of you that know me, I make up words. So we're gonna orange it up. We're gonna orange this up. So here is our let's orange up our sunset. I want my sun to be more over there, so I'm going to kind of cover that up a little bit. We're going to orange up our sunset a little bit. All right, let's take a look at what that did. Ah, it's almost looking like a sunset, but it's not ready to be a sunset yet, so let's not make it a sunset because it's not ready. All right, so we're going to put this here, and oh, by the way, didn't I say there were pop quizzes? I did say that. Okay. I think it's time for a pop quiz. All right. Now, if you've been listening, there could be valuable prizes. All right, the first question, true or false? Pop quiz. Pablo Picasso said, "There's a yellow spot on your shirt. You should wash it in Tide and hang it up in the sun to dry." And you have to raise your hand for the answer. Raise your hand. True or false?
False.
False. You're sharp. Your valuable prize is one of my prints. So you get, just because I picked it off the top, this is Sun Serenade. So here is your valuable prize. Hopefully you think it's valuable.
Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Now we're going to pay attention. Oh, she's not just giving away lollipops. We got some stuff here. Okay. Who's in models? I love to hear who's in models. Okay. All right, this is your painting. What do you want to do with it? Where do you want to go next? Talk to me. This is not for a prize. Where do you want to go next with this? Anybody, shout it out. Sky, water, light, dark, what do you want to do?
Sailboat.
Other than adding a sailboat.
Oh.
Just colors. Direction. Sky. What do you want to do with the sky? Separate it from the water. How would you do that?
Not sure.
Okay. All right, let's separate the sky from the water. That sounds like a marvelous idea. Let's do that with a little bit of gray. I'm just going to skim a little bit of gray here. All right, now, whenever you see water, you know it's always darker at the horizon line. Here is a dark bluish gray. All right, did that separate it for you? Okay. All right, now what do we do? This is our group painting. Now what do we do?
I'm just feeling I'd like to see some neon or like pink or something on the left-hand side. To the
All right, then
left
let's
of the
give you a
sun.
neon pink.
Something really
Neon pink
bright.
sounds marvelous to me. I just happen to
pink.
have, this is kind of a neon, orangey, pinky, something or other
Yeah.
color. Let's do, oh, look at that. Ooh, that looks good. I like that. Good suggestion. All good suggestions. Okay, neon pink. All right, now what do we want to do? How about if we kind of work a little bit on the formation of the clouds?
Yeah.
So let's get a little definition in here. The clouds is sort of an ochre color. Now, I used to blend everything. I was the blend queen of America in pastels when I started out. I would put one little stroke down and I'd blend, and I put another stroke and I'd blend, and I put another stroke and I'd blend. And Janice knows, and other people know, that when I teach, it's like resist the urge to blend until you can't stand it anymore, and then blend. When you do want to blend, it's too early to blend, but when you do want to blend, there are these lovely finger cuts, because if you blend with your finger and you're on sanded paper, pretty soon you're going to see little drops of red on the floor, and it's going to be your own blood, and that's just not cool. So if you're going to blend, which is too soon to blend, you can blend with these finger cuts. And if you are blending, you want to blend in the direction of clouds. If you're doing a cloud, think like a cloud. So I'm pretending I'm this cloud and I'm moving in here. I'm pretending I'm this cloud formation and moving in here. And oh, by the way, if I didn't like something that I did, I can take this Viva paper towel and bunch it up. You can give it and you can take it away. So if I didn't like something that I just did, you can hear how it's scrubbing. I can take away what I just put down. I can take a kneaded eraser. I can go in and I can erase it. And I can start all over again if that's what I want to do. Okay, so we don't want to do that. The other thing you can do is you can use, for those of you that are traditional painters, you can use a paintbrush. If you have too much pastel on, you can just get rid of it. It also blends with this. Kind of makes clouds good. So you can use this to take us away. All right, so let's look at distributing this color a little bit more and really making this an outrageous sunset. Did anybody remember John Navy on TV about a million years ago?
Oh, yeah.
I love John Navy. When I saw John Navy, I don't know how old I was.
Learn to draw.
I'll learn to draw. So I want to be John Navy someday. I want to do that. I really want to do that. Do you have one of those booklets? Oh my goodness, I did that and draw Winky the Doe on the back of the matchbook. Did anybody ever do that? If you draw Winky the Doe on the back of the matchbook, you can win a $500 scholarship to some place. Chicago Institute of something or other, I don't know. It was Winky the Doe, I remember that. Isn't it something how you remember like these weird things from your youth? Or maybe it's just me. Hopefully it's not just me.
How about Winky Dink? He was like the same era.
Winky Dink? I don't remember Winky Dink.
That was the screen that you put on the TV and you
Oh,
followed
yes, I remember that. I remember that. All right, let's come back in here. Let's reestablish this guy in here. Let's surround him with some a little bit more intense orange. And like I said, you can always, if you don't like an area, you can use Viva paper towel and you can bunch it up and you can get rid of areas that you don't like. That sounds like a pop quiz time, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. So, a question will be, oh goodness, I should make it even harder. The question will be, remember you have to raise your hand. True and false is too easy. We have to do it. Fill in the. Okay. What is the name of the paper towel that you should use to get pastels off?
Viva.
Viva. All right. Wow. Okay, we're paying attention. It's just a soft. So you get another hopefully valuable prize. And a thank you bag too. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Let's start getting this looking like what it needs to be. Let's work a little bit in the water. As you know, especially in our water, you have some beautiful greens. So let's kind of, first I'm going to get some really wacky green in here, and then we'll mute it down a little bit. Let's get some real wacky green in here. And then let's kind of,
You have no room.
what's that?
You have no room.
You have no room?
Sorry, I want to say it.
You have no room for what? The prints? Oh, for any more paintings. Oh, well, I guess we just can't give you one of our pop quiz paintings. see what we look like from back here? Oh, something's happening. All right, let's get some real light lights. Remember when I talked about light lights and dark darks? We're kind of going back and forth here. We need a little separation of these light lights. So let's come in here and give it kind of a little creamy action going on. And just kind of separate out our...
What color is that?
This is, I know people always ask me that, and I make up names because I don't know. I take
It's
the
just
paper
real
off.
light.
It's a creamy, yellowy,
Yellow. Okay. That's good.
creamy color. It's a creamy color. It looks like vanilla pudding. It's a vanilla pudding color. All right, let's get this really. The vanilla pudding also makes a great sun. We move this over here, so let's move this down a little bit. Okay. Rather than blending with the finger, I try as much as possible. I love doing it, blending pastel over pastel. And for those of you that paint with acrylic or oil or watercolor, you have to mix paint. The beauty of pastel is you don't have to mix paint. You want a color, you just pick it up, and there it is. Okay. Now, let's get back into our water again. I think our water needs a little bit of help. So, let's take this guy in here for a little bit. This is sort of a purpley blue. When you were younger and you had Cradle with crayons, were you as excited as I was when your parent could then afford like the 48
Yeah.
pops? Was it the 48 or the 72 that had pencil sharp? 64. The 5 and dime is what it was called when I grew up in Trenton, New Jersey. And my mother would take me to Willis, the 5 and dime, and she would buy patterns for dresses because she made clothes because we didn't have any money. And I go downstairs where the toys were, and I skipped the toys. I went to the coloring books and the crayons. And I was just hoping one day she'd be able to give me money for my 64 box of Crayola crayons because it had the sharpener. Oh my goodness, life couldn't have gotten any better than that. Life was just wonderful as we know it because I had that. They had the greatest names too, didn't they? Periwinkle Blue, Burnt Sienna, just great names. Great names.
That's the real colors. So
They are real colors,
it's,
yeah.
Prussian blue and
Yeah.
magenta. And so you were learning.
I was learning that early. I know. I had no idea that I was learning that early, these real names. Okay, let's have this wave come down here. Yeah, let's have that wave come down there. Let's stick that little guy back in here. Let's bring up a wave here and a shoreline. What would John Davey have done now? I don't know. That was black and white TV, so that wouldn't have helped us any.
My son learned to draw, where he made a horse, but he had the different shapes, you know.
Oh, yeah.
You make the one. Yeah, and you had the ovals of the neck,
Oh, it's starting to almost look like something. All right, where would you go next?
sun.
Sun, what are you going to do with the sun? Really pop it.
Right there, pop it.
Pop it. We need to pop it. We're going to pop this. Let's pop it. If you cannot make something lighter, it's like the lightest you can possibly get, make things around it darker. Very good. You filled in the missing punches. So you're hoping you're going to get a prize with that, but you're not. Sorry. That was group participation. That was group participation. I'm sorry. Make things around it darker. than blending, and I'm not going to use that fickle finger of fate that I told you, you can tap. If you want to get areas to kind of come together, you can tap them in place. It also has a great beat, so if you want to kind of like dance a little bit, you can do that. So now, we lost the center. It also is a great way to lose weight when you do this. Because you're always moving. You're always moving. All right, I think we want to pop that a little bit more yet. Sometimes you look at it, you can barely look at it, right? Because it's just coming at you. That's so let's take a look at Senoyer is another pastel that literally almost breaks in your fingertips, in your fingers rather when you put it on because it's so soft, but it is one of the softest pastels. I don't know, is there anything softer than Senoyer pastel people? Schmanky's softer, you think? Yeah? Okay. I'm going to bring a little bit of this in here. Okay, let's take a look now and see if that sun is popping. It's popping pretty good. All right, let's mute down some of the other guys so the sun can even pop more. So let's take one of these grays over here. Gray it up a little bit. I usually am doing work at home in my studio with music. So if anybody would care to sing or hum, that would make me feel good. Also with pastel, you can either really bear down hard if you need a lot of pastel, or you can just basically caress the paper with your pastel and just give yourself soft areas. So I definitely muted that too much, but I did it for a reason. Now let's come in and I am going to blend a little bit. I know Janice. For purposes of demo. We're going to lighten up the sky back here too. And you want to think like the water. So the water is kind of moving in this direction, so I'm going to let it flow like the water. Now, let's blue up that sky a little bit more back here. And let's just when I'm working in water, I do like to use hard pastels, and they just kind of skim the surface a little bit and give you kind of more of a shimmer on the water. So I kind of like to use the hard pastels occasionally as well. All right, let's take a look at this guy. It's coming along. This is the way I work very loosely on everything. The cat that you see here, the building, no matter what it is, it starts out very, very loose and abstract, And then at this point, if I were in my studio, I would leave it and I would go take a break. And I would do whatever else, whatever you need to do, and then I'd come back to it with fresh eyes, and I would take a look at it and then decide, what do I need to do with it? Where does it need to go? And so let's just pretend that that's what I did. I would say I lost my horizon line. So I want to come back in and give myself a horizon line. And I would start to adjust again and readjust my darks and light lights, my values. Maybe put in a little bit of a wave. Break up some of this color here. Again, if you want something to appear lighter, surround it with dark. If you want something to fluoresce, use its complement. So that's after I took my break. I come back and I say, all right, I need to really start to define. Now it's looking a little bit more like waves. It's looking a little bit like water. These look like the early scribbles that I did. So let's kind of de-scribblify it. There's a good word. I like de-scribblify. That's a good word. I'm going to use that one. De-scribblifying. Okay, let's take a look back here. Oh, see? There you go. There you go. There you go. There you go. All right, audience participation. This is your painting. You just took a break. You mowed the lawn. You did the dishes. You put a load of laundry in the washing machine. You came back. You took a look at it. Now what do you do? Everybody got so quiet.
Wait.
Finish it off. Good. How do we finish it?
Something bright, really, the clouds up there are more lighter than the yellow.
Lighter than the yellow, I agree. All right, let's go lighter than the yellow. And the orange at the bottom needs to be orangier, softer, softer.
Needs dark on the left side.
Needs dark on the left side.
Of the shimmer in the water, the orange stripe on the bottom.
The orange stripe on the bottom. Here,
No,
Here?
where the reflected sun,
here,
yeah, I think on the left side of the orange needs to be a little darker.
okay.
And that'll make the orange look brighter.
Got it.
Yeah, and that right there, that gives it more shade.
And we were doing something here. What were we doing? Do not attempt this at home. Use a protective finger paint. Do not attempt this at home.
Don't do as I say.
Don't do as I say. Don't do as I do. Do as I say. Don't blow pastel dust. Shake it down or take it outside someplace and turn it upside down.
The idea is to avoid inhaling.
And avoid inhaling the dust.
And bright orange on the bottom.
Dull that? Okay. You're going to dull a little bit. if you loosen up and allow yourself to let your painting talk to you and tell it where it wants to go, you can have fun, no matter what medium it is. This happens to be pastel. You can have more fun with your work. You can achieve things that you would never have thought you could achieve if you keep too tight. And you never can tell. You can turn out a painting that started out as something that you thought you had no direction, but you had fun and you played and you went back and forth and you did tiny adjustments and realized that this is something that I can really turn into a really lovely painting. And my next expression is the last thing you do after you, it's not done yet, but the last thing you do when you are finishing your painting is look for your light lights, your dark darks, take another look, sleep on it, and after you've slept on it, you still look at it and say, wow, this is really good. Stop it before you destroy it. Stop it before you destroy it. Name it and frame it. Name it and frame it. All right, questions? Oh, wait a minute. My goodness, we have one more valuable prize. All right, so, oh, we have to make this harder. You were just too good. We have to make this harder. All right, so this question is, pastels, true or false? Pastels are chalk. You can take them and you can do artwork on blackboards, the old blackboards. You can do chalk on the sidewalk. It doesn't matter because they're just chalk. True or false? False. Yes. What are pastels made of?
The same figure you paint.
You got it. All right. So the final painting. This is Honeymoon Island. All right. Questions? Questions? Comments?
Do you spray them with fixative when you're not?
You know, I have sprayed with fixative and I've not sprayed with fixative. It depends. I have a tendency now to spray a little bit with fixative. You really shouldn't over-fix it because you'll destroy the color.
Yeah.
So what I'll do is I will spray a light coating for my framer so they don't freak. And it just basically settles the top dust, but you really don't want to over-fix it. Questions? Yes?
How toxic is the paint? I mean,
You know, I don't really have an answer for that. I don't know that this is any more toxic than the fumes you would get from oil paint or whatever. Since it's really the same pigment, I would think it's just as good or bad as any other medium.
So,
What you just don't want to do is breathe in your dust, that's all. And some people, when they work with it, actually wear a mask. I don't. But I think as long as you do what I was doing and do this and don't blow it so that the dust kind of goes across your nose, I think you're fine. I have never read anything about the dangers of it other than you just don't want to blow it.
do you always work with your piece mounted?
Yeah, I always work on an upright position, especially with pastels, because you can see how dusty it is. And if you have it lying down, all the dust, the chalk dust, pastel dust is going to collect, and you don't want it to do that. So I do this, and I will constantly do this. Now, if I were doing this at home, I would not have taken it this far, this quickly. I would work fast, and I wouldn't have been blending as much. But in order to try to give you an idea of the different techniques in pastel, I was doing that for demo purposes. But it would be in a fairly decent place after an hour, a fairly decent place. Other questions? Yes?
what about the size that you work in, say, as opposed to a new person working in pastel, the size of the piece?
The size of the piece when I teach and how I learn is 9 by 12. So on a 9 by 12 sheet, and a 9 by 12, you could finish a 9 by 12 in, even as a new student, to get it to a pretty good point in probably about 4 hours. Probably about 4 hours. Other questions? Yes?
As a new student, do you just buy a set of pastels, or do you?
It's a good question. When I started with Brooke, she told me to buy a set of new pastels. This is an old set that I use. I take to classes. I bought this when I was probably a teenager. And, but new pastels, oops, upside down. New pastels, so what I was told is these are hard pastels. Buy these, and you can get these at Michael's. You can get them online and all that. And then if you find out you really like pastels, then you can start to, add to it. I graduated to soft pastels, and I just absolutely love soft pastels. So I started with this and a little bit of paper and a pencil. And as Janice can tell you, and other artists here can tell you, you soon have boxes and boxes and explore different kinds of paper, etc. So the only plug that I will give you is that I do teach a workshop here on Saturdays. Actually, this Saturday is a workshop, and I have a flyer here, a list of the dates for this session. So if you want to pick up a flyer, and if you are interested, or if you have someone who is interested, I also have art supplies that if you want to see kind of what they cost and where you get them, you can pick up one of these or look at it. And these are just giclée prints of work that I have available, just to show you other work that I do. So I am going to wrap this up just by saying you've been delightful. Thank you for being the audience participants that you are. For those of you who are mothers and or grandmothers, I wish you a happy Mother's Day and a good rest of the day. Enjoy your day, and thank you for spending some time with me. You're welcome. Yeah.